Hey YouTube, my name's Dan, and I've been a type 1 diabetic for over 37 years, and want to share a briefer story with you about how I got diagnosed with epilepsy. That was in 2009, so it's been about 12 years now, but here's kind of how it played out. Uh, and there's some kind of chicken and egg kind of scenario here that we don't quite know what caused what, but growing up with diabetes and having low blood sugars at night, I did have grand mal seizures, which I've mentioned in another video. If you want to check that out to know more about what that was, you can click in the video at the end. I'll link to that. But these would accumulate over time, and it got to a phase in my adult life where, under high stress and other things taking place, that I started having seizures when, diabetic wise, I was hitting my numbers. I was good. I was testing. I was making sure, because it was, I mean, this might be a little dramatic, but it was kind of killing me. I would have 2, 3, 4 a week, and needed a lot of help, and it was pretty crazy. So, kept telling my doctors and talking to diabetic doctors, endocrinologists as they're called, or my GP, and basically they're like, "Oh, you gotta do better with your diabetes. You gotta watch your numbers, et cetera, et cetera." And I'm like, "I am, and you can see the digits. I have them right here. What's going on?" And it got a little, I don't know. You get frustrated, but they're the doctor. I'm the knucklehead with diabetes. What do I know, right? Which is still not much. Don't get me wrong, but finally, I had a nurse practitioner. I was living in a really small town in upstate New York, and we just talked about it for 45 minutes, and really ran through, here's what happened, and here's how often it happened, and here are the variables that can affect diabetes that had nothing to do with these seizures. And she listened and said, "Well, I think you have epilepsy." And I'm like, "Oh man, that's terrible, right?" One more thing, but she was quite the opposite. She said, "No, no, no. This is treatable. We can get you in." So I had to go to a neurologist and get a EKG, or is an EEG, whichever the brain one is. Forgive me. One's for your heart, one's for your brain. So I got the brain one. That's where they have to actually glue a whole bunch of little sensors to your scalp, and then they have you. They would play this kind of soft music to kind of chill you out, and then they'd flash lights in front of you in kind of different patterns and frequencies, and see how you responded neurologically, and from that would be able to discern if you had an epileptic tendency, which I did, and I do. So did get that diagnosis. Couldn't drive for 6 months. So man, I was at a season in life where I worked at this Christian camp that I did recruiting, so I would have to travel to all these different schools. I basically lived on the ground, so I could walk to the office, I could walk to meetings, so that at least kept my world traversable. But I couldn't go out and do recruiting, so they assigned me a driver, which was, man, amazing, because how many people have a job that'll provide you the means of doing your job for 6 months? And he just drove me from New York to Massachusetts to Jersey to Pennsylvania and all over the place visiting these schools. And his name was Lenny. So, Lenny, shout out to you, buddy. You were awesome. Great time, and I needed you, and you were there for me. So, thank you. So, yeah, that was the change. It really, the meds worked immediately. You might be pushing it, but it was weeks. And my brain just kind of settled back into the new normal that I'm living in right now. Couple of things. I don't even list the medication here. I don't know. If you guys need meds, you need to go talk to your doctor. I don't want to even start talking about, that kind of stuff, because who knows what's out there, what's happening, and I am the furthest thing from an expert. I'm just someone living it. So that's not my point to be sharing that kind of stuff. But what did happen once I was on the meds is it actually changes my body's pH, which I did not know. I wish they would have told me that. So taking these medicines, your body's pH changes. So even though it's relatively small, I actually had to grow internally an entire new bacteria culture, because everything in your body is very much in equilibrium of all of those factors, and pH is a big one. So certain bacterium, which your body, I believe you have a greater number of bacteria in your body than cells in your body, because they're very, very small. So they work in your gut, they all over the place, and some good, some bad, it's all a balance. Well, if your pH changes, the whole ecosystem has essentially changed. So a large amount of them would die off. Other ones started to thrive, and the ones that needed to balance out, my body didn't have to fight. And all, I don't know how that stuff works. But basically, I had sores in my mouth. My stomach was, well, you can imagine having to reboot the system. So that took, 2 to 3 months to kind of get my body used to these new medicines. And my brain, I think of myself as a fairly creative person, someone who is responsive, reactive, able to run with things quickly. Humbly, and this, I hate saying it, but I'm duller than I was. I think that is inescapable. Some of the things I loved about brainstorming and figuring out problem solving, that kind of thing, I can still do it and I still enjoy it, but I'm not as sharp as I was before the meds. Probably never will be. That may just be behind me, and I'm getting older, so maybe that was something for my 30s, less for my 40s, who knows. But it's worth it because it's safer for myself, it's safer for my wife and my kids, and certainly protects my livelihood, and so be it. This is part of the cards you're dealt, and you play the cards you got, right? So all in all, that's been my experience with the transition into epilepsy. And my biggest takeaway, though, for all of you is talk to your doctor and be heard, right? There's information that the numbers on a page and the report on a screen cannot communicate. Only you really know your story. This isn't just for diabetics. This is for humans, right? You know kind of what's happened. You can have a sense of things. Your intuition and your general sense of well-being, it counts. Now, you don't know what doctors know. They know things that you don't. So you need their help. You need their input. I couldn't have told you. I don't even know what those meds are. I could name them. I have no idea what's in it. They're the doctor. But I did know that them saying that I needed to try harder as a diabetic was not the advice that I needed. But I finally found someone who would listen long enough to help me discern what would take care of me. So if you're in a situation where you just don't feel heard, you might need another doctor, right? I know it's expensive, I know it's difficult, but I'll tell you what, it's worth it. It's worth it. Your health is worth it. You are worth it. And what you have to contribute, if you are as functional as you can be, and we're all working to some degree, right? So whatever your best capacities are, our neighborhoods, our world needs you to be able to contribute as best you can offer. So take care of yourself. Hope you're feeling well. And we'll link to the videos here that kind of depict some of the things I mentioned in this video. And we will see you next time. Oh, please subscribe. That would be awesome. We'll catch you next. Bye.